second grade. Today's read aloud is going to be a Christmas read aloud. You might not know it, but Christmas is Miss Ishens's favorite holiday. And today is actually Monday, April 13th, when I'm videotaping this, and it snowed this morning. So I thought it was fitting. I also put on my Christmas jammies to make it a little more fun. And look at these cool puzzles that Miss Katie put together. They're in the shape of Christmas balls. I hope you enjoy our read aloud today. It is Santa is Coming to Minnesota. Santa is coming to Minnesota. Well, boomed Santa, have all the children from Minnesota been good this year? Well, mostly, answered the little old elf. As he bustled across the busy workshop to Santa's desk, Santa peered down at the elf from behind the tall, teetering piles of letters that the children of Minnesota had sent him. Mostly, asked Santa, looking over the top of his glasses. Yes, but they've all been especially good in the last few days, said the elf. Jolly good, chuckled Santa. Then we'd better get their presents loaded up. Even though the sack of presents was really, really big and the elves were really, really small, they seemed to have no trouble loading it into Santa's sleigh. Though how they managed to fit such a big sack onto one little sleigh, even they didn't know. But somehow they did. Splendid, boomed Santa. We're ready to go. Not quite, Santa, said the little old elf. One of our reindeer is missing. Missing? Which reindeer is missing? Asked Santa. The youngest one, Santa, said the elf. It's his first flight tonight. I've called him and called him, but... Just then, a young reindeer strolled up, munching on a large carrot. Where have you been? Asked Santa. But the youngest reindeer was crunching so loudly that it was no wonder he hadn't heard the little old elf calling. Oh well, never mind, said Santa, giving the reindeer a little wink. He took out his Santa nav and tapped in the coordinates for Minnesota. This will guide us to Minnesota in no time. Crunch, crunch, crunch. With a flick of the reins and a jerk of the harness, off they went racing through the sky. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. We'll have these presents delivered to the land of 10,000 lakes. That's where we live. Santa's sleigh flew through the starry night, heading south and across Hudson Bay. On they flew in the wintry air over the Boundary Waters. In the wink of an eye, the sleigh was flying above the Iron Range and onto the Twin Cities. The youngest reindeer was very excited. He had never been away from the North Pole before. They had just crossed over Breezy Point when suddenly they ran into a blizzard. Snowflakes whirled around the sleigh. They couldn't see a thing. The youngest reindeer was getting a bit worried, but Santa didn't seem concerned. In 2 miles, said the Santa nav in a bossy lady's voice. Keep left at the next star. But ma'am, Santa blustered, I can't see any stars in the snow. Soon they were hopelessly lost. Then through the howling blizzard, the youngest reindeer heard a faint ringing sound. Ding, dong. He looked over at the old reindeer with the red nose, but he had his head down. Red nose, I wonder who that could be. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. There was that sound again, like church bells ringing. The youngest reindeer turned around to look at Santa, but Santa wasn't listening. He seemed to be arguing with a little box with buttons on it. With a flick of the harness and a jerk of the reins, the youngest reindeer gave a sharp tug and headed off toward the sound of the bells, pulling Santa and a sleigh behind him. Whoa, cried Santa, pulling his hat straight. What's going on? Then, to his surprise, he heard the ringing sound. Well done, young reindeer, he shouted cheerfully. It must be the bells of St. Paul's Cathedral. Don't worry, children, Santa is coming. Then suddenly, crunch! The sleigh hit something as it plummeted through the snow clouds. You have arrived, said the Santa Nav unhelpfully. Finally, when the snow had died down and the clouds parted, Santa discovered exactly where they were. Stuck right at the very top of Minnesota State Capitol. Everybody pull! The reindeer pulled with all their might until at last, with a screeching noise, the sleigh scraped clear of the dome and Santa steered them safely past the Minnesota History Center, above the Minnesota Children's Museum, and over the Mississippi River and down to Minnehaha Park. Luckily, there was no real damage done, but the packages had all been jumbled up. Santa quickly sorted them out into presents order again. All right, said Santa. Thanks to this young reindeer, I know where we are now. Don't worry, children. Santa is coming. Santa drove his sleigh expertly from rooftop to rooftop all over Minnesota, popping in and out of chimneys as fast as he could go, which was pretty fast for a chubby fellow. There were big chimneys in Bloomington and small chimneys in St. Cloud. He squeezed down the chimney in Minneapolis and plumbed down fast to the chimneys in Mankato. The youngest reindeer was amazed at how quickly they went. Santa never seemed to get tired at all, and it looked like the children in Minnesota were going to be very lucky this year. But the youngest reindeer was starting to feel a bit weary and quite hungry too. In house after house, Santa delved inside his sack for packages of every shape and size. He piled them under the Christmas trees and carefully filled up the stockings with surprises. In house after house, the good children of Minnesota had left out a large plate of cookies, a small glass of milk, and a big crunchy carrot. Santa took a bite out of each cookie, a tiny sip of milk, wiped his beard, and popped the carrots into his sack. From Winona to Roseau County, from Duluth to Moorhead, from Carver County to Rochester, and all the places in between, like Park Rapids, Santa and his sleigh visited every house in Minnesota. Santa delivered presents to Andrew, Allison, Anna, Arabella, Archie, Ashley. The list went on and on, all the way to Zachary, Zara, Zeb, Zoe, and Zybel. Zybel? That must be a spelling mistake. Surely. Finally, Santa had delivered the last present on his long Minnesota list. Great moons and stars, sighed Santa. It's past midnight, and my sack seems as heavy as ever. I hope I haven't forgot anyone. Santa opened up his sack to check, but it was full of juicy, crunchy carrots. Santa divided the carrots among the reindeer. Well done, he said, patting the youngest reindeer gently on the nose. But the youngest reindeer didn't hear him. He was too busy munching. Then it was time to set off for home. Santa reset his Santa Nav for the North Pole, and soon they were speeding over the Stone Arch Bridge, across Minneapolis and St. Paul, and over the lakes through the crisp, starry night. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. Merry Christmas, Minnesota. Remember to always be good so Santa can visit us in December.